The world is a giving, loving place. That intention begins to manifest itself in your relationships and in the people that you have around you. And the reverse is true. If your intention is to get all that you can get, you most likely encounter lots of greedy, power-hungry people. Your associates will have similar mindsets. You repeatedly will convince yourself of the greed and the shallowness of the world, and you'll see this coming about in your life. Your thoughts, to your intentions, to your reality, all will reflect what it is that you have manifested for yourself in that invisible self that I've been talking about. So that if you have this pessimistic view of the world, and if you think that people are all out to just get other people and so on, you'll find that people are taking advantage of you a lot. You'll find yourself being very skeptical of people's honesty. You'll find yourself having to have a lot of legal disputes resolved for you. You find yourself in angry confrontations with other people a lot. You'll find that you don't trust salespeople, and you'll find yourself hanging up when somebody tells you something and say, oh, yeah, sure, but that isn't really what it's going to be. And someone says they'll be there at 5 o'clock on Friday, and you probably tell yourself, no, they're not going to be. You have created an intention in the world. You are beginning to see what it is that you have intended for yourself. And you're probably a person who is out to get all you can get. And you probably do take advantage of others. And you probably don't trust yourself. And as a result, you see the very same thing within yourself in the people around you. The secret to changing your life is not to change your wishes, but to change your intentions. Wishing, hoping, and goal setting don't accomplish anything without intention. What is needed is a shift from the inert energy to the active energy of intention. Realize that all of your accomplishments, even those of which you're not very proud, have come about as a result of your intentions. When you intend something, rather than simply desire it, you create it. With intention, it's as if your mind is saying, this is it. There simply is no other way. I can sit right here now in this studio and say with absolute certainty about having alcohol in my life. This is it. There's no other way. There's no way for me to be. And that doesn't mean that I have to worry and struggle with that every single day of my life. In this day, the only day that I have, there will be no alcohol in this body. There will be no substances in this body. And that is my intention, and I will follow through on that intention. It is my intention that there will be no duplicity, there will be no cheating, there will be no lying in my life, in my relationships. That is my intention, so that when the temptation is to just keep something from someone that I love very much, like my family, my intention is that truth is better. My intention is to stay in physical shape. My wish isn't that, gee, I hope I can keep myself from getting overweight, and I can keep myself from, getting heart disease and things like that. My intention is that I will exercise regularly, that I will walk and run, that I will stay active, that I will keep myself athletically fit, and I will watch the food that goes into my mouth. And it isn't just a wish, it isn't just a hope, it isn't even a goal, it isn't even a desire. It is an intention. I intend this to happen. Therefore, when I'm tempted with something that will move it the other way, I remember that it's an intention. It's an active thing. As you work towards developing this miracle mindset, there's a piece of advice I'm about to give that might be a little bit surprising to you. And that is, you have to learn to live your life as if what you visualize, what you intend, is already here. And someone listening might say, wait a minute, isn't that being dishonest, or isn't that faking it? And the answer is yes. You may be required to fake it. But you have to get in your mind, with these strong intentions, this understanding that what you are looking for, what you want for yourself, what you want to manifest in your relationships and in your health and in your prosperity and things like this, that what you're looking for, if you believe that it's already here in your mind, then your actions will follow that which you believe or that which you know. So it's like I always tell people who are trying to lose weight, you've got to act as if you already are in your mind the weight that you would like to be. Or if you're trying to overcome an addiction, you've got to act as if in your mind you're already free of that addiction, so that then when it comes time, when the temptation shows up in your life, you can go past it. And also, you have to do the same thing with prosperity. You have to act as if that which you want for yourself in your life is already here. If you have a scarcity consciousness, that is, that things aren't going to be there for me and I won't have enough, and you keep that in your mind, then of course you will act on that scarcity consciousness. I'll give an example. Back in 1965, I was 25 years old. I was a senior in college after having spent 4 years in the Navy. And I was teaching at a high school in Detroit, Pershing High School. I was also just beginning work on my master's at that time. And I was a substitute in the building, what they call a resource teacher, which meant that whatever teacher was absent that day, I would fill in for them. And so I stayed in the same school. There were 128 teachers on the staff, so there was always an absence. And whenever I came to school that day, I didn't know what I would be teaching that day. It was a wonderful opportunity because I got to teach shop one day and dressmaking the next, and I'd be in the gym the next day, and then I'd be a counselor the next day, and I'd be teaching biology or English or science, whatever. And it was just wonderful. And it also allowed me the freedom to pursue my academic studies and my master's and my doctorate. So the principal was in the office, and I came into the office at the end of the day, and I was turning in the teachers whom I had substituted for. I was turning in their plans and all of that, and I heard the principal talking to one of the secretaries in there saying that we need someone, we want to get a federal grant, and there was federal grant money. It was the Great Society time of Lyndon Johnson. And we would really like to get this federal grant going. We have a program for tutoring underprivileged students in the school, but we don't have the funding for it. So I would really like to get some of this federal grant money that is available, but we don't have anybody here who knows anything about federal grants. And I was standing there at the mailbox, and I was getting ready to go down to the university that evening, and I overheard that, and I said, I couldn't believe I heard myself saying this. I said, I know about federal grants. I'm an expert on federal grants. Now, the only thing I knew about federal grants at that time was that they existed and nothing more. And the principal went over to me and he said, what do you mean? I said, I've had courses on that and I've talked about that and I can write up a proposal on that. I can get you funded. I'm an expert on that. He said, well, if you could do that, that would be great. He said, you could even supervise the program. And at that time I was married and going to school, and having extra money sounded like a wonderful idea. So from that statement, that simple statement of acting out my visualization right there on the spot, acting as if what I knew was already there, I now had to live up to what I had just said. And I went down to the library, and I spent that evening about 6 hours in the library going through all the federal manuals and guidelines on how to fund federal programs. And the next morning, I wrote out this entire proposal on at Pershing High School and all the different things that we could do and what students would be eligible for it, and how to get the money, the federal money for it, and how the monies would be used, and all of these bureaucratic guidelines that are provided out of Washington. I wrote the whole thing up. I had it typed up. I gave it to my mother to type up, who was my typist at the time, working at Chrysler, and in the evening she would type for me. And I submitted it. And I gave it to the principal, and I said, this is how you do federal funding. This is how it works. And he sent it into Washington, and we got it funded. Within about 3 weeks, we had a whole program. We had a government funding for this program. We were tutoring kids after school and who had special needs. I was involved in the program. And the interesting thing is, other schools in Detroit found out about the fact that I could do this and called and wanted me to come over and give some workshops to their faculty on how to get federal funding for programs in their schools. Suddenly I was being paid as a consultant. I was an expert on federal funding, something that I just announced after a school day that I knew something about. I was acting as if what I wanted was already here, and then being forced with that intention to follow through on it. This is not to say that you can, as someone might say, I've got a pain in my head and I need a brain surgeon, and you walk in and say, I'm a brain surgeon, I'll just operate on your brain. I'm not saying that at all. Certainly there are many things that require very specialized training, and you wouldn't want to declare yourself to be an expert in. But most of the things in your life that you run into, you are perfectly capable of accomplishing and doing. And I've often said that most of the jobs in the world, other than those that require very specific technical training, just about anybody with any modicum of intelligence could work out. That includes all jobs in politics. That includes most administrative kind of works. That